Good morning, player profiler. Oh, we're doing it. We're doing it. And the early morning starter stream show coming through for fantasy gamers before the German game. Before the game in Germany, we will answer your start-sit questions involving the Carolina Panthers. Oh, yeah. Jonathan Brooks. Do I start Jonathan Brooks? Of course not. You're not starting Jonathan Brooks. You're starting Chuba Hubbard with confidence. You're starting Tyrone Tracy with confidence. Tyrone Tracy's a threat to go off for 30 points. Malik Neighbors. We're starting these guys, man. Plenty of implied points for the Giants. You love that the game total is above 40. That surprised me. I thought it'd be like 38. That tells me, oh, there's some usable pieces here. So it's exciting. It's an exciting morning. I feel good. I feel rested. I did not drink heavily last night. All right, we learned our lesson from week 9. Super sharp. I know all the injuries. I know who's playing and who's not. Off we go, right? Off we go. Starter stream. Questions from you, the audience. Oof. Start Nico Collins. So that's one. Start Nico. I know Tyreek Hill is a true game time decision. Game time decision, Tyreek Hill. Yikes. What does that mean? Start Jalen Waddle. Please, for the love of God, start. If you're not going to start Jalen Waddle today, you'll never play him. So play him. Go ahead. They're at the Rams. They're on the road. This is perfect. They're going to Los Angeles. If Jalen Waddle doesn't have 20 fantasy points, what are you doing? Right? What are you doing? Why did I draft you again? I'm asking myself that question all the time. Hopkins, Downs, or BTJ? BTJ is also a game time decision. BTJ is not himself. He was not himself last week. He actually wound back his practice routine and practice volume. So was more limited this week than the previous week and trending toward not playing. If I were Doug Peterson, I wouldn't play him. He shouldn't be played. He's too young and dynamic to be pushed to play at less than 100%. So Downs is an easy one. You're definitely starting Downs. And then DeAndre Hopkins, again, you have DeAndre Hopkins. He's finally become integrated into the offense. He's acclimated, okay? Now is the time to play him. If not now, when? Right? They're going against a team in the Broncos that can actually shut down Kareem Hunt. They can actually wall off the run and force the Chiefs to throw. Now, I know they have Patrick Surtain. They don't make it easy. Denver has a great defense. But it is Surtain, isn't it? Oh, God. Well, I mean, it's a terrible choice. I mean, I got to say Hopkins and Downs because BTJ's not healthy. The Vikings have a great defense as well. So I would have to say BTJ, knowing you're going into the teeth of a difficult matchup with Surtain, but the hope is that at least the Chiefs have to throw some. Please make them throw. Please, can someone make the Chiefs throw, for Christ's sake? And you'll get some targets for Hopkins. So, yeah, tough choice. Downs is the easy one, though. No Michael Pittman. Oh, baby. Hawkinson over Ertz against the Jaguars? Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I like Hawkinson this week. I like Hawkinson. I like, a couple games after a guy's been, he's activated, has a week of practice, gets a game under his belt, then you play him. I like that. London, Devontae Smith, McConkey, or McConkey. McConkey. Hey, McConkey. McConkey. Or Connor. Pick 2. Oh, God. Well, Drake London's healthy. Devontae Smith is healthy. The question is James Conner, really. So I'm going to have to go to the flex tab. When you ask about 4 guys, I'm forced to go to the flex tab to see. And I'm guessing it's Smith and London. I'm pretty sure. In PPR, of course. Smith for sure. Then London. No. Actually, no. Interesting. God, man. I'm going to go Smith and London because I like the upside there. Technically, our projections have a Connor ahead of London. We don't love London this week, so that's something to note. And it's a Bijan week. It's a Bijan Algier week. That's something to note. That is something to note, but I think you go London. Hit the like button. Thank you, Chase Ferguson. Hit that like button. Get me up in the morning. Get me up so you can do this. Set your lineup before the game in Germany. Says Nico is a game time decision. Is he? Because I've heard he's good to go. They activated him from injured reserve. Maybe he's a game time decision. I don't know. We'll check. Last I read, he was like, why would they? Okay. I mean, maybe. We'll see. Is he a game time decision? I'm gonna Google it. I'm gonna Google Nico Collins. Texans received the best news possible on Nico Collins. Activated. Remains questionable. Okay. All right. Well, all the speculation I read was that he is going to play, but it's certainly possible he doesn't. I don't know why they wouldn't play him. He's been practicing. Like, a guy needs to play before he can play, in which case, how would anyone play in week 1? Oh, because they played in preseason? Like, I don't understand. Like, if he's ready to go, he's ready to go. Why would they? It doesn't make. It doesn't. But I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I'm going to say 80-20 he plays. And of course, we have phones, right? Everybody, we have phones. So if it turns out he's inactivated, you can just take him out of your lineup. But I would put him in for now. Mostert or Dottle? You're going Dottle there. Mostert's is very much a secondary option. You would have to be, which it is, a great matchup for the Dolphins, but I would prefer it at home. If it was Dolphins against a truly bad team at home, then you could think about starting Raheem Mostert, but that's it. That's the only situation where I would start Raheem Mostert. Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, Parker Washington. So Debo's playing with limitations. We know Debo's not 100%. We know that George Kittle is a total smash. And then Jawan Jennings becomes interesting. I think Jawan Jennings is the established guy, and he's the guy to start there. And then you're starting Parker Washington. So I don't think you start Pearsall yet. Let's just wait on Pearsall. We'll see what happens with Pearsall. Right? I mean, maybe, but I would just wait on Pearsall one more week. One more week before you start him. It's okay. I understand the zeal to start a guy like that. I'm that guy. I really want to start my new toy. But if Tyreek Hill sits, you're starting Parker Washington. Which I think Tyreek Hill will sit. It's feeling like he's going to sit, but I've been very wrong, and there have been beat reporters that have gotten it wrong. I mean, on Player Profiler, with our injury update tweet, we have to change our whole methodology because we can no longer just take the word of beat reporters or NFL correspondents. We have to have a more cautious, more layered injury report because, who the fuck knows, right? Can we trust this Colts offense? What do you mean? About starting Josh Downs? You don't need to trust the offense to start the number one receiver. That's not a thing. Jonathan Taylor getting healthier. So I think that, yeah, at least those two guys. And then if you're thinking about starting Adonai Mitchell, Alec Pierce, I mean, good luck to you, sir. Good luck to you, sir. Not me. Dell or Leggett? I got it right. I almost said Leggett. Didn't. This is Tank Dell season. He's active. He's playing. He's expected to play. He's going to play. It's going to be great. It's going to be just Dell and Nico. It's going to be fireworks. Let's go. Can't we just do this? It's the Lions. They're like second in the league in fantasy points allowed to wide receivers. Let's do this. Dell's a smash. Well, see, Mitchell, I don't know who Mitchell is. You know what? Alfredo, go to hell. I don't know who the hell Mitchell is. There's a lot of Mitchells out there. I assume you're talking about Keaton Mitchell, but Keaton Mitchell already played on Thursday Night Football. So you're talking about Adonai Mitchell? Okay? There's a bunch of Mitchells out there, buddy. And do me a favor, and don't make me run through all the last names in my head and who's on this particular slate versus who's on the Thursday slate and make me do all that work. F you, I'm not going to answer your question. One thing I will say is it that hard to type first names and last names? Really? Just to make it easier? It's actually, even if it's someone where there is no other counterpart in the NFL with that last name, like Dell, I know that it has to be Tank Dell. I know that's Tank Dell. But when you write the whole name, Tank Dell or Adonai Mitchell, it helps my brain process what you're saying, and it makes it so that I can do my job faster. So it's better for the whole audience because you have thousands of people listening instead of you skipped, so much more efficient. Congratulations. That partial second now you have for your life that you didn't type Adonai, or do you not know how to spell Adonai? Maybe that's the problem. You can just maybe Addy Mitchell if you can't spell, or just go to Google it, find out the spelling before you put it in a public forum, which is driving show content for thousands of people. How about that? And as it relates to Mitchell, as it relates to McMillan, look at me. I got Mitchell on the mind, man. You got Joni Mitchell. Oof, no good. Still don't get it. Don't get Joni Mitchell at all. Kev, if someone can explain Joni Mitchell to me, explain it to me. Don't like her. It's been very frustrating with Jalen McMillan because heading into this week, I just expected him, when a player is close to playing and then doesn't, or is reported he's going to play and then doesn't, you just assume he's going to play the next week, right? But still, thankfully, on the podcast, the Mighty Mansion podcast, I was like, you're playing Jalen McMillan if healthy. I love Jalen McMillan. Jalen McMillan at home as a 7-point dog in a 50.5-point total game as the de facto number one receiver. Yes, he's better than Sterling Shepard. On the Statmasters program, the Statmasters show from Evan Ringler, he went through all the advanced metrics of all the Buccaneers receivers. And they were all league bottom with the exception of a few efficiency metrics for Jalen McMillan were average. So just having a few average metrics makes you a star receiver for the Buccaneers, who don't have Mike Evans this week. So this would be a great week to play McMillan. I don't think he's going to play. I don't think I'm a lot more NFL teams are leaning towards holding these guys out. You see Brian Robinson's being held out again. So especially with hamstring injuries, the NFL is being super cautious with hamstring injuries. It's a bummer, man. It's a bummer about McMillan. It really is. Tony Pollard or Rachaad White. As much as I love Rachaad White, and I dislike Will Levis. I dislike the road game. I dislike going against the Chargers. My position on Tony Pollard is you have to start him every week because he's getting such a huge opportunity share, and I don't believe Tajay Spears is a threat to cannibalize many touches. He's like top 5 or top 10 in almost every opportunity share metric. He is explosive, and every week you look up and the guy's putting up 15-plus fantasy points. So it's very difficult for me to bench Tony Pollard, especially knowing that it appears with the toe injury, it appears Bucky Irving is good to go. And now with that offense not as efficient, without Jalen McMillan, do they just feed targets to Rachaad White? Does Rachaad White operate as a receiver? You have a 50.5 point total at home versus the Titans going on the road to the Chargers with only a 39 point total, with the possibility of having a completely inept offense with Will Levis. Oh, this is a great question. I hate benching Tony Pollard. This would be the week to do it. If there was ever a week to bench Tony Pollard, I'm Team Pollard. I don't want to do it, but I'm also Team Rachaad White. This makes it a very difficult decision. I am forced to go to our projections, and our projections say start Tony Pollard, but we do not have him. We do not have him as a top 20 option, and certainly because if you look at the next game block on Player Profiler, you check out this next game block. I could actually share my screen here. So share the screen. So share the screen here. Notice this next game block. Okay. San Francisco's defense is not what it was. That's why Rachaad White's attractive. But look at their points allowed to running backs in the receiving game. It's plus 2.7 fantasy points above the mean. It ranks number 10 in the NFL. This tells me Rachaad White has incredible upside this week. A lot more upside than Pollard, though the mean projection is going to favor Pollard for sure. If you are at all an underdog this week, I say start Rachaad White, and if you're a favorite, I think you start Pollard. This is not, look, you can even say, oh, my guy, look at that. Who's that handsome guy in the icon there? So this is not a non-answer, right? This is not just empty rhetoric and just a cliche non-answer. This is true. This is what you're supposed to do. If you feel like you're a favorite, if you evaluate the matchup and you feel like you're a 10-point favorite, you'd be surprised if you lose, then start Tony Pollard and get those 10 fantasy points and be happy. But if you think you might need 20 fantasy points from your RB2, well, in the passing game with a long touchdown, it's more likely to come from Rachaad White this week. That's a good question, though. That's a really difficult one. So I'll tell you exactly where we have the projections. The problem is with the projections, the Bucky Irving being healthy really makes things tough. So we've got Rachaad White at RB28, and we've got Pollard at RB21, and we've got Bucky Irving at RB26. Ugh. But look at the implied Vegas points. 15.25 for Pollard, 21 for White. I'm more likely than not trying to chase those points. Right? So I like, if like this guy David, he's wondering about Eckler and Rachaad White, Jameson Williams. It's definitely Eckler and Rachaad White. Eckler's been efficient this year. There was another stat that Evan Ringler put out on the Statmaster show this week. So you could type in Statmasters. It's just him going through 20 stats in 20 minutes. And he talked about the efficiency of all of these Washington running backs and how Eckler has been just as efficient, if not more efficient, than Brian Robinson. And when Brian Robinson comes back, why exactly are they going to be funneling touches to him doesn't make sense, right? It's Austin Eckler. Austin Eckler is he's been a top 3 fantasy back in his career. If he's playing well, why wouldn't you just give Eckler more touches? Doesn't make sense. I mean, think about it. So it's interesting. I like Eckler this week a lot. Jameson Williams. Oh, because he's back from his latest suspension. Put it in the chat, put it in the comments. Name the players with a higher knucklehead factor than Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams is the original NFL knucklehead. You're not going to find a more knucklehead than Jameson Williams. Not a fan. Not a fan. Hunter Henry or Jonnu Smith? I like Hunter Henry this week because I think targets are going to funnel to the middle of the field. Although the problem with the Bears, their whole secondary is amazing, right? They have just incredible secondary overall, so it just makes life difficult for everyone involved. This is a week to start Stevenson, and that's it. I think you pivot to Jonnu if Hill is out. If Hill is out, you pivot to Jonnu. And because they're going to have to call more designed, creative play. They're going to call a couple plays, like H-back type plays for Jonnu Smith that they might not have if Hill were in the lineup. DJ Moore or Pollard? It's all about Pollard over DJ Moore. Sadly, I mean DJ Moore is really falling. The efficiency of the Chicago defense it has made the offense less likely to have to throw. And then when they are in these situations, like against Arizona, when they do have to throw and they're down big, they can't get anything going. They can't sustain drives. So it really hurts DJ Moore's touchdown equity. I mean, how many touchdowns does DJ Moore have this year? We have him projected for only 12 fantasy points. It's not a bad matchup. I mean, New England allows close to 12 fantasy points above the mean to opposing wide receivers. But Moore only has 3 touchdowns. DJ Moore in points per game is wide receiver 35. Think about it. He's this close from falling outside the top 36 fantasy wide receivers. And he's 27 years old. I hate this situation for DJ Moore. How did this happen to DJ Moore? How did this happen? We thought that he finally found a quarterback. He was finally rescued from quarterback purgatory. And he really was. He never had a top 10 season. Last year had a top 10 finish. Had over 1,300 yards. Had never crested 1,200 previously. We could be looking back at 2023 being the high water mark for DJ Moore. The one and only top 10 finish in fantasy points per game. Wow. Crazy. Mostert, Etienne, or Ray Davis. Etienne is the starting running back. It's not Tank Bigsby. Etienne has been dealing with an injury where he has not been 100%. He's been playing with limitations. Slowly but surely, he's coming back. This might be the week that he's at full strength. So I would say he's at home, yet they're 7-point dogs. It's perfect for a running back who also is active in the passing game. This is a week to play Etienne. Coker or Levis? Is that a real? If it's Superflex PP, if it's Superflex Flex, if it's your Superflex spot, you're starting the quarterback. Starting Will Levis. Though it is interesting. No Adam Thielen this week. That's why I have guests of the Mind of Mansion. I was like, can someone explain why isn't it going to be like it always is? Like the old crusty veteran that comes in and starts commanding targets. Why wouldn't it be Thielen? And Andrew Erickson's like, no, man, what are you doing, Thielen? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is not me. Why do I even care about Thielen? Oh, yeah. It's league it, baby. League it and Coker all day. May, Tua, or Wilson? I'm assuming that's Russell Wilson. Again, I know that there are only one starting quarterback named Wilson. I get it. I know that. But there's Roman Wilson. There's other Wilsons. And so just my brain with the processing, you people. Full names. Full names. I'm going to start scrolling through, and I'm going to take the questions with full names first. That's what I'm going to do. If I'm going to get up this early, I can set some rules and parameters. What was the question? God damn it. Oh, Drake May. Well, Drake May with a rushing upside. I hate this so much, but he's going to have to put this offense on his back in the second half. I'm excited to see what happens in that game. So I like Drake May, and I like Tua. And I don't mind Wilson either. This is a tough one. Wilson against the Commanders. Oh, Tua possibly no Hill. But it is the Rams. I think I'm sticking with May and Tua. I think that's what we do. We're going to let Russell Wilson show us one more week. I think we're allowed to do that. And Washington's defense has not been the Washington defense of previous years. They've really smothered some offenses. So we'll let Wilson show us one more. We know what May is. We know what Tua is. You're starting Tua. Again, it's one of those situations where if you're not starting Tua against the Rams on the road, you're never starting him. So we're just starting him. Of course you're starting him. Dunze or Mooney, full PPR. That's a tough one. I'm assuming it's Mooney, right? Isn't it Mooney? It's probably Mooney. I'm gonna check the projections. I think it's got to be Mooney. And the answer is Darnell Mooney. Hey! Oh, we have Darnell Mooney with the same projection as Marvin Harrison Jr. How much do you love that? How much do you love that? It's close, though. We have a Dunze at wide receiver 29, and we have Mooney at wide receiver 27. So it's razor close. But, I mean, what are we talking about here? Darnell Mooney has sick upside. Darnell Mooney has big playability. He's super fast. So it's not like you're getting extra upside with Rome Odunze. It's not like he's a possession receiver. If it were Hopkins versus Mooney, see there with Hopkins, with that Patrick Surtain matchup, you hate it so much. The projection is really just based on target share and implied points. That's where that target that projection comes from. I would actually squeeze some upside juice out of Rome Odunze if that were the question. The other question is like Amari Cooper. He's now a game time decision. I'm not sure. Maybe there's been news that has come out that is more concrete about Amari Cooper. I would love to see Amari Cooper play against Indy. I would love it. So I just want him to play. I want him to play, but I can't wish it to happen. Right? We got to let it happen on its own. Here's a great question: Pierce or Algier? So you understand why Chris has this dilemma. It's a very good dilemma to think about for a show, for a starter stream program. The Falcons are playing the Saints, but they're not necessarily blowout favorites because it's at New Orleans. But this game could absolutely devolve into a blowout where you're getting Algier in the second half. That's what you're hoping for. You're hoping for Algier in the second half, 60 yards and a touchdown, 12 fantasy points for Algier, and you're happy. What's the upside for the Colts and their offense, and especially now with no Michael Pittman? Alec Pierce is a deep threat. Alec Pierce, in one play, can go for 60 yards and a touchdown, and that's 12 fantasy points, plus the catch, that's 13 points. Oh, he just outscored Algier. This is why I play upside receivers over grinder backs and Madison types in my flex. So if I don't start Pierce here, I'm a total fraud. Like everything I know and love about starting and streaming and sitting players in fantasy is gone if I somehow would start Algier over Pierce. This is the week to start Pierce. There may be another week, many, many years from now, where you can start Alec Pierce, but this might be the best week to start Alec Pierce of all time and forever. You might never get a better chance. Think about it. They're at home against the Bills. Okay. The Bills are pretty difficult against opposing wide receivers. But the matchup that we project for Pierce specifically is Christian Bedford, who is our 89th ranked cornerback in coverage rating. Coverage rating combines a whole bunch of metrics, pass defended rate and target rate into one unified efficiency metric, roll-up efficiency metric for cornerbacks. So he can dust that guy, right? So so you have Flacco. You've got a high game total where you're an underdog. Well, it's not a high game total. 47 points. It's on the higher side, but game totals have all come up around the league mostly. Though I'm looking through it, not too many games have a higher game total this week. Buccaneers, hosting the 49ers does. And then, of course, Texans hosting the Lions does. And then Dolphins at the Rams. There's only 3 other games with a higher total. Yeah, Alec Pierce all the way. Alec Pierce all the way. Dottle or Demario Douglas? I think Dottle's still the starting running back for a team. And I think this is where Cooper Rush is going to come in handy. This is where Cooper Rush comes in the most handy, is with Rico Dottle still giving him the ability to score fantasy points, because Cooper Rush is an above average backup quarterback. They will be able to matriculate the ball down the field. They will put Rico Dottle in scoring situations. So I kind of I like Dottle this week more than average. The Rap Sheet is now reporting that Collins is indeed a game time decision. I don't understand that. I'm having the hardest time with injury designations. You would have thought that by taking out the probable and just forget it, just take these guys off the injury report, so they can't mark guys as probable anymore. But it's as hard as ever to figure out whether these guys are going to play or not. A lot more of these players should be marked as doubtful. But I can't remember a time when it was harder to figure out who the hell is going to play. Drop Garendo or Vidal. This is from a super chat. I mean, Garendo. Mason's back. Mason is actually, and this is another stat from Statmasters. Do yourself a favor and listen to Statmasters every week. Mason actually has been more efficient across a number of advanced efficiency metrics on Player Profiler than Garendo. Garendo is viewed as this big play, super efficient running back in a small sample. And yes, that's true, but Mason has been efficient in other areas. Garendo hasn't been like this. It hasn't been the sort of dominant slasher back who is just clearly won the secondary running back job in San Francisco. I wish that was the case. I was hoping that'd be the case, but the numbers say no. The numbers say if McCaffrey suffers a setback, probably going to go back to Mason. And while the contingent upside on Garendo is maximal, if there are, ask the question, if there are 2 injuries to the top 2 backs in the NFL, who would be the best possible handcuff in that situation? Craig Reynolds would be a candidate for sure, even though he's just sort of a plug-and-play guy. He has ability to score fantasy points in all phases, and it's the offense you would want, right? Off the top of my head, I can't even remember. I mean, maybe you could say, I don't know, Carson Steele. Carson Steele would be a good candidate. There's a handful of pretty good candidates around the league. Oh, Oh, yeah. I just thought of one. The third running back on the Buccaneers. That's a good one. Would that be more than Garendo? I think I'd still prefer Garendo over Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker and Garendo have similar speed scores. Sean Tucker maybe better in the passing game at this point because he's been in the league a year. I still think I'd go Garendo, though. I think I'd go Garendo. So I understand that. It's incredible theoretical contingent upside, but what's the probability that both McCaffrey and Mason get injured today? Pretty low. So I think you can drop Garendo. Tank Dell, Downs, Juwan Jennings. Can I just Soggy Danger? I think Soggy Danger won. You get what he's trying to do, but you know what I think? The way I read it, I think I read it better than what it actually is. I prefer Soggy Dagger. Soggy Dagger is pretty funny. The term Soggy Dagger is funny. In fact, Soggy Danger should change his handle to Soggy Dagger. I think it would be much better. Be a big upgrade. And by big upgrade, I mean a very minor upgrade that no one will ever care about. I would notice, though, in fairness, if he commented again on a future show and he had changed it to Soggy Dagger 1, he would get the Podfather's attention. I would notice. We've done something. I let the hair do something different today, just so everybody knows. I just wanted it to lay flat, as you can see. Again, there's all different kinds of bedhead. There's a wide diversity of bedhead. We want equity among our bedheads, right? I want to make sure all bedhead types are represented on the show. And there's just, you all know, there's different types of bedhead. And this is one of those types. I have the same exact bags under my eyes every Sunday morning. Those are consistent. But the bedhead, it's always new. It's always fresh. I, after the show, am going to be going to a yoga class because I'm a little stiff and I realize I haven't done yoga in like months. And it's one of those things, if you've done yoga for a period of time, I've been doing yoga for like a decade. And if you go a while without it, you get scared. Like I got freaked out. I was like, oh no, if you're gonna lose that flexibility, the ability to just touch your toes, it always feels good and it's kind of you feel good about it. But you're like, well, wait, am I gonna start to lose that? So I did a panic yoga scheduling at 10 o'clock. So I'm gonna do some hot yoga. So hot yoga at 10 o'clock. Can't wait. So I'm excited about it. I forgot how much I look forward to it. It's one of those things where you get lost in the season. You just forget about it. Josh Downs is the answer. So I love Tank Dell, and I love Josh Downs, and I love how you people have a lot of Tank Dell and Josh Downs, and it's great. I congratulate you. But with no Michael Pittman, you're starting Josh Downs aggressively this week. Aggressively starting Josh Downs. You're starting Coker this week as well. Coker. Chris M7. He had a bunch of guys that I don't care about. He listed. I stopped watching. I mean, here's 10 guys and pick one. No. I saw Coker on there and then a bunch of shitty players, and I was like, oh, God, Coker all the way, for sure. Dell or Mooney? See, I still prefer Dell here. Dell is the way to go. I can just tell you that we have Dell as wide receiver 14, and now that Nico is a game-time decision, he may or may not play. Dell's an even bigger smash. Though he was strangely not 100% this week. This guy, it's just... He's certainly regained his explosiveness, and it is Detroit, and they are, whatever it is, top 5 in fantasy points allowed to the position, so let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's do it. Jonathan Brooks is now out. That's from Derek. Thank you, Derek Lincoln. Jonathan Brooks now out. I guess that's the official. I think the inactives came in because the game's starting soon. So appreciate the inactive Jonathan Brooks. We expected that. That was as expected. But again, Chuba all the way. Downs or Hunt. This is not a Hunt week. This is one of those weeks Hunt's going to have 4 fantasy points. If you're on Prize Picks and you're stacking that game, perfect thing to do would be to go under on Hunt this week. So I know that Denver is like average against opposing running backs, but in general, Kareem Hunt gets there with touchdowns, random touchdowns, and there's just less likely that touchdowns are going to get scored in this game, period. That's why. God, he's been so bad. He's so inefficient. It's wild how inefficient it's embarrassing. Look at his yards per touch, 3.9. True yards per carry, 55. Like it's his production premium, -15. I'm just going through this. It's just so bad. I'm looking at this. It's so bad. 1 breakaway run. Gross. He's so gross. He can't get out of my life fast enough. God, I want Carson Steele back. It was so nice when there was Carson Steele. Oh, man. I keep seeing McMillan questions. Is McMillan playing? I had him as a game time decision. If let me know. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. Oh, my God. I did the thing where I tried to scroll to the bottom of the comments. I try not to do it. So one of the things I don't do is because I'm a little bit of a obsessive compulsive. I really, honestly, truly want to get through all these questions. Now, I also want to talk about other things. I'm not just going to do all the questions. I mean, that would be a boring show. So I'm going to give some thoughts on yoga, but I do genuinely want to get through all the questions. I really do. I really do. And then when I start scrolling and I see all of them, it makes me a little bit, it gives me a little like shiver because I'm like, I can't get to all these questions. There's no way. But I would like to find questions with full names, questions that don't list 10 guys, questions where the person's entire roster is not put out there. I would like to get to the Super Chat questions. Super Chat right here. Marv, Leggett, or Johnston? Are we really at that position right now? This is where we're at? This is the question I've always wanted. Finally. We can confidently, because again, sometimes we're starting Marvin Harrison for upside purposes, but not because we're confident at all. This one I'm confident. Finally, I got the confident Marvin Harrison Jr. advice. Start him. Start Marvin Harrison. When those are the other choices, hell yeah, you're starting Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. also, the target share numbers and the air yard share numbers are excellent. You could argue he's been lucky with touchdowns, but unlucky with target accuracy. That is very possible, right? That on any given target, the accuracy has been below average. But when the targets have been accurate, he has been in a scoring situation. So that's been the story of Marvin Harrison this year. He's been both lucky and unlucky. CeeDee Lamb or Marvin Harrison Jr.? I think that's a pretty good question. I don't think that's a crazy. I mean, you might think, that's a crazy. That's not crazy. CeeDee Lamb, not 100%. CeeDee Lamb does not have Dak Prescott. Just so everybody knows, just to put it in context what I'm talking about, we have Josh Downs as wide receiver 6 this week. So this is what I'm saying. Okay. And, CeeDee Lamb is the answer. Marvin Harrison Jr., the issue is, it's Sauce Gardner, right? So even with, I understand why you're thinking, maybe league it, right? Maybe league it. I think you still, based on the target volume, it's in another universe of the guys you listed, you got to go Marvin Harrison Jr. But I understand the concern, and we only have him at wide receiver 26. But we finally got to the point where I can confidently say start Marvin Harrison Jr. even with a very difficult matchup. That's a great position to be in. The fact that he was in a dichotomy with Quentin Johnston is just so perfect. It makes me so happy because we're talking about what? You got Brian Thomas Jr., better than Harrison. Odunze better than Harrison. Neighbors better than Harrison. McConkey better than Harrison. And then you only need one more. It's hard. You can't because, again, his target share and air yard share numbers are so good. But there's plenty of receivers that are better. And the fact that we have Odunze and Harrison just right there, love it. Drop one, Jalen Wright or Roschon Johnson. You got to drop Jalen Wright. I hate it, though. Roschon, with no Khalil Herbert, is a must-add, a must-stash. Achane, he goes down, potentially. There's still going to be Mostert mixed in a lot. It's still not. See, the thing is, Dolphins' offense, not that great. So it's actually Roschon pretty easily. But I understand. I think the better question is Jalen Wright or Isaac Garendo. I think that's been one where there's been debate because these guys have incredible contingent upside. I guess that would be the guy, right? We asked the question earlier, who would be the best player if two players in front of them got injured on the depth chart? It's Garendo and Jalen Wright. It's those two guys. For me, I think I prefer Jalen Wright. I think he's a better running back, better all-purpose running back, even though it's a little bit better situation in San Francisco for Garendo, but those would be the two, right? Those would be the two. Wow, that would be so exciting, but it's probably not going to happen, right? That's why that's why it's Roschon Johnson. Oh man, I'm so mad. I answered that guy's question. The super chat, I answered the question about Marv. I wish I hadn't, because later he admonished me. He said, "Yo, you better read my super chat." God damn it, I wish I'd read that so I would not read. That's not the way to get someone to listen to your shit. Okay, there's another question about Jalen McMillan versus Jalen Coker. Jalen McMillan must be playing. There must be a report that he's playing. I got to look it up. I got to make sure he's playing. I'm pretty sure he's playing now. If so many people are asking whether they should start him or not, that means he must be playing. So, if McMillan's healthy, I'm playing McMillan. I like McMillan this week a lot. I just don't know if he'll be limited or not. It's so tough. Brian Robinson was supposed to play last week, and then in pregame warmups, he decided, no, not going to. So this is the problem where McMillan could come out in the first quarter. It's really tricky. Jalen Coker, this is a great spot to play him. Oh my God, you have to know what you have half an hour, Joanna, to figure this out. You know what? McMillan may or may not be a lock to play. I don't think he's a lock to play. Because he's not a lock to play, because he has to go through pregame warmups, because of what we've been subjected to the last couple of weeks of all these false reports about guys that are expected to play and then don't play. Play Coker. I'm telling you right now, Joanna, put in Coker, play him. That's it. And you can't play Pop Douglas this week. It's just not great. Play Coker. That's the answer. Oh, this is great. So Nicholas Ellis was listening to the show, and his wife was there. By the way, anyone who plays this show, it has this show in audible, distance from anyone that doesn't play fantasy football, God bless you. I would have a difficult time doing that. I would be asked to shut that shit off right away. And she said that the wife said that I sounded grouchy because I said last names. I don't want last names only. She said that she liked it better when I was talking about Jersey Mike's and I was more hungover. Well, unfortunately for Nicholas Ellis's wife, this is almost always what you're getting. Listen, I'm crawling out of a trash can every morning. Like that's what you're gonna get. Mellow, hungover, can't remember who was active or injured or not guy. That's like once a year. You're almost always gonna get an intense, grouchy guy who's also really funny. Oh, man. Jordan Mason or Ray Davis? This is a great question. Oh, this is a question. This is a decision I had this week. I like Ray Davis because, the Colts could also go in the wrong direction today. The Colts could really go in the wrong direction. Couldn't you see it in your mind's eye? You close your eyes. Can't you see Flacco just having a bad day? Flacco's no guarantee of having a great day, though he will target Josh Downs. Don't worry about that, right? But Alec Pierce, very much probably the most widest range of outcomes of any receiver in the league this week. Alec Pierce could put up 25 fantasy points. Alec Pierce could put up 5. It really depends on how Flacco's. If he has a bad game, if he just isn't himself, right? We talk about the Ben Roethlisberger corollary where these guys, they get 40 years old and every week is an adventure. You never know what you're going to get. You could see this developing into a blowout situation. You could see Buffalo up 10 plus the entire second half, riding Ray Davis. Don't forget, you could get a mid-game injury or just a nick-up for James Cook. There's lots of contingent ways that James Cook can deliver, say, or Ray Davis can deliver, say, 15, 16 fantasy points. Jordan Mason, I mean, you're there. You're just strictly banking on a re-injury to Christian McCaffrey. Don't do that. You're essentially betting on Christian McCaffrey suffering a setback and being done for the year. That's the only. So yes, I guess it's not that hard of a decision when you put it that way, right? You're definitely playing Ray Davis. I'm playing Ray Davis. Just so you know, I'm playing some Ray Davis this week for all the reasons I just laid out. I'm playing some Ray Davis this week. Oh yes, oh my God. Murray or Rodgers? It's always Kyler Murray. Is that a question? Does anyone have that? Is that a real question? Murray or Rodgers? Really? Let's see. Oh, it is a real question. Oh my God. How is that possible? Our projections have them tied, pretty much. The edge goes to Aaron Rodgers, actually. Wow. That's crazy. That's why I look it up, man. Sometimes I'm like, wait, what? And it's like, yeah, the Jets are that difficult to play against. So, okay, fair enough. I still go Murray, though. If you're at all an underdog, I think I still go Murray. But it's exactly tied. Multiple people have that question. If you're an underdog, you're going Murray. And if you're a favorite, you go Rodgers. This is not a smash Murray. There's definitely a situation where you would go Rodgers this week. That is crazy. Yeah. Parker Washington is a sneaky start. Everyone who needs wide receiver help should be picking up Parker Washington and just watching these inactives and seeing what happens with Tyreek Hill. Unfortunately, it's a late game, right? It's very late. It's 8:15. So that's what sucks about this. It's terrible. So there's not a lot you can do. I mean, yeah. It's the Monday night game. I just saw 8:15. I forgot it's the Monday night game. This is horrible. Okay, never mind. Forget everything I just said. There's nothing you can do. I mean, you can have him, but who are you going to not start? I mean, what is it between Hill and Whittington? Is that what? No, so you're picking up Parker? No. I would rather have Parker than Whittington. If you have Hill and the next choice is Whittington, okay, this is the one situation. This is the situation. This is great. I'm wasting everybody's time. This is great. If you have Hill and you have Whittington and Parker is available on the waiver wire, drop Whittington and pick up Parker. That's it. Or someone else. So, for example, if you had, let's say you're doing what I'm doing, okay? And I have no receivers on my bench. It's all running backs. It's all Roschon Johnson, Blake Corum, Ray Davis, Braylon Allen, down the list, right? You could drop Garendo, pick up Parker Washington if you have Hill, just so you have him ready to go. That would be the move. So I think I would try to do it if I have these are realistic stash running backs. Garendo, Jalen Wright. I think that you could pick up Parker and hope that it's Hill and just hope that there's no injuries in Miami and there's no injuries in San Francisco, knowing that even if there is an injury, it's not the worst case scenario. Especially if it's Garendo. It's going to be Mason, so it's fine. Brian Thomas is expected to play now, according to Adam Schefter. Gabe Davis is expected to play, according to Adam Schefter. Thank you, Derek Lincoln. This is great, Derek. Thank you. I still don't love Brian Thomas. I think I gave some advice earlier, and it involved not playing Brian Thomas this week. Based on what happened last week and how flaky he was this week of practice, I still, if it's a dilemma that you have and Brian Thomas is in that dilemma, don't feel bad about benching him. Based on what we saw last week, he's not 100%. He's still not 100%. He's going to try to give it a go. He's clearly a warrior. But let's just talk about some players that we would play over Brian Thomas Jr. So now that he's expected to play, we need to get him into the projections. I would play Shakir over him. And that sounds crazy, but it's true. I would play Tank Dell over him. See, I don't know about Debo. Debo is limited. Debo is not himself. I would not play Debo. Man, that's a tough one. Put it in the chat. You tell me. Given they're neither of 100%, they're both playing limitations, are you going to play Brian Thomas or play Debo? That's a tricky one. I think I lean Debo there. Got to lean Debo. Also, Trevor Lawrence, not 100%. That also complicates things, right? I mean, how much does that complicate things? It's pretty complicated. I don't love it. Let's see. I'm pretty sure Trevor Lawrence is going to play. Nope, he's out. Mac Jones season. It is Mac Jones season in Jacksonville. Is that? It is Mac Jones season. I knew Mac Jones. It was Mac Jones season. I saw that posted. Does that matter? I don't think it matters. Is that better for Brian Thomas? Is Mac Jones season, is that a good thing? Could it be a good thing? What happens if Mac Jones plays better than Lawrence has played all year? What happens in that situation? That's interesting. That's fun. I'm so happy that we have Mac Jones season. I think it's a tough matchup against the Vikings. I think that they're not easy to play. Kind of makes me like Brian Thomas more. That Mac, man. I would play Brian Thomas over Ladd McConkey. I would play him over Ridley, Sutton, Hopkins, Marvin Harrison Jr. I would play him over Drake London. I think that's the cutoff for Brian Thomas. I wouldn't play him over Terry McLaurin. I wouldn't play him over Devontae Adams, but I'd play him over everybody else. I think if you have Brian Thomas, you're probably playing him. Mac Jones season. This is good. This could be good for Brian Thomas. I love this. Let's go. Fun. Man, I just want to see what happens if he's better. If he has the best game of anybody. He won't against the Vikings. But damn. Watching Trevor Lawrence, there's just something about it. Watching him flame out as a professional quarterback, I don't know why. It's probably something about number 1 overall pick, Clemson. I've always made fun of these sort of, pre-anointed players from these programs that are just so pukey. Some of these programs, they're just ugh. You know that there's gamesmanship and they're doing things behind the scenes that make it impossible for anyone else to recruit these players. And some of these coaches, you just know that they are disingenuous, right? They found faith late in life, and now they've got the perfect family, and it's just it seems like such a facade with some of these college programs, and you're just like, this is gross. I don't like any of this. I want the guy from the small school. I want the guy that was underrated. Even if it's a top 10 pick, even if it's a guy that went to the national championship game, like a Michael Penix, right? There's something about that where he wasn't anointed from the beginning. It took him forever to come out. Like, he's 24 years old. The scouts barely gave him any credit for being great until like the final steps of the process, where they're like, actually, this guy's a top 10 talent. We're going to get him in there. As opposed to the guy that was recruited from high school and, had the frame and everything. And it was just, he was predestined. There's something about the predestiny that makes me cheer for failure. I don't know. And Mac Jones, he's failed in spectacular fashion. You love a good redemption story. Trevor Lawrence fails, then and flames out and lands somewhere else. Like, let's say Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was a great story with the Rams with Sean McVay. That was a great story. One day I'll be able to cheer for Trevor Lawrence like I cheered for Matthew Stafford, but he has to fail first. He has to be humbled first. Mac Jones has been humiliated. My daughter sent me like a YouTube short of 2 linemen. Have you seen this? Carrying Mac Jones through the tunnel and him crying. He was wailing, crying. He was in so much pain, and he couldn't put any weight on either leg, and they were carrying him. I don't know if he broke both legs. I don't know what the hell happened to him. But he was in a lot of pain, and he lost his job, and they kicked him out of New England, and it was over. Fast, like whoosh. No more Mac Jones. Just like Kenny Pickett. Whoosh, gone. Right? So, redemption story for Mac Jones. Very, very enticing. Very excited. Rodgers or Taysom Hill at quarterback? Oh, Rodgers. This is Rodgers week. We're starting Aaron Rodgers this week. Deebo Samuel is expected to play. We knew that, Derek, but I think that we also know that he's not 100%. He's playing with limitations. We know that. We definitely know that. So I still think that you play him. I think you play Deebo over Brian Thomas, both playing with limitations. You play him anyway. McBride or Taysom Hill? What? You guys are really considering Taysom Hill in Trey McBride level? That's not right. That can't be right. No. Taysom Hill is certainly going to take a bunch of direct snaps and probably score a touchdown. It's very possible. We have Taysom Hill ranked at tight end 13. I think Ertz over Taysom Hill in an upside situation is wrong. We like Jonnu Smith this week. You have to like Cade Otton. Until further notice, Cade Otton is a guy you're playing. You have to play him. And we do love Hunter Henry this week. So I know there was some Hunter Henry questions, and I might have been a little squishy on Hunter Henry. We love Hunter Henry this week. I just want to make sure that's clear. We're playing Hunter Henry this week. We are out on Jake Ferguson this week. Tyler Conklin suddenly questionable, so that's not happening. We're out on Dalton Schultz. Fuck Dalton Schultz this week. Okay, you're not playing him. I mean, Detroit smothers opposing tight ends. It just doesn't happen. So, like, for example, Jonnu Smith or Dalton Schultz. Ertz, Dalton Schultz, you're going Ertz, you're going Jonnu Smith. I think I would go Hill over all those guys, though. I think Hill would be a top 10 tight end for me because of upside. I love the upside of it. Just they direct snap to him inside the 10-yard line. That's what they do. So you love the Wildcat with Taysom Hill. Amari Cooper. I love having, dude, Derek Lincoln in the chat is unbelievable. Please, Derek, join me every morning and help me because I can't. I guess I could. I could just pull up Schefter. I could just pull up Schefter on another screen, but I have a lot of windows open. So it's hard for me to just monitor Schefter's every, because I go live at a difficult time with injuries where a lot of the beat reporters will report while I'm live, the updates. So it's tricky. So Will Power has an interesting question. I got to go because I have this yoga class. But Will Power has a dynasty question. You love that. I think, before we go into that, Laporta. It's important that we talk about Laporta this week. Where is Laporta in the projections? Laporta's a bust. Laporta, tight end 21. So, yes, the answer is Hawkinson. I was going to say Hawkinson, obviously, but I just wanted to make sure that I called out the ranking of Laporta just because it's funny. It's really funny. Javonte Williams or Brian Thomas? Brian Thomas. Kansas City just does not allow fantasy points to opposing running backs, period. End of story. Back to this dynasty question. I get back to it. What kind of pick would you look for Jonathan Brooks? Tired of this organization. Okay, so Will Power, by the way, love the name, right? Get it? Will Power. Please don't trade him now. Okay, so you're going against the Podfather currents. This is not a good idea in Dynasty, okay? I am now in the market for Jonathan Brooks. This is now the time to get Jonathan Brooks. Now is not the time to sell Jonathan Brooks. He hasn't been active yet. There's an assumption that it might be Chuba, and maybe Jonathan Brooks, maybe there's been a setback in his recovery that we're not aware of. Maybe there's something they know that we don't. Oh, no, Jonathan Brooks, right? All this uncertainty around Jonathan Brooks. Never underestimate an NFL team's ability is to fuck things up and be dumb. But your league mates don't know that. So you need to be acting now, making moves now to get Jonathan Brooks and be fearless. Don't just be done with the organization. Because what happens when they fire everybody and then they turn over the whole organization? It's a new front office. It's a new coaching staff next year. Then what? Then why did you trade him again? See how this works? Don't make rash decisions. These instant reactions. Don't do that, right? Take a breath, let the news marinate, come back to this in, a week or two. And then if you still want to trade him, trade him. But please don't do it now. No snap judgments. Please, no. CJ Stroud or Daniel Jones? This is a question that's being asked. The fact this is being asked is amazing. And I think I have an ad that I run about player rankings where I talk about, situations where you might want to play Daniel Jones. This is it. Daniel Jones against Carolina. This is it. We have Daniel Jones projected ahead of Patrick Mahomes. I've been waiting for that question. Where was that question? Okay, Derek is amazing. Derek says there's no updates yet on Jalen McMillan. So we shall see. We shall see. I don't love it. I don't love it for McMillan. I don't love this situation with the hamstring. If you can play Coker, I'd play Coker. I think we talked about that earlier. I think if you're down to guys like Coker and McMillan and you can't drop anybody, I would just ride with Parker Washington. So I think that's the move this week is, okay, if you can't drop somebody, that's fine. You have the upside of Hill not playing. Even if he does play, he's not going to be 100%. And it's the Rams. And they could absolutely get a third receiver involved on the road. I think I would just, if you have one of these super fringe wide receiver options as a choice, because it's Monday Night Football, I would just ride with Parker Washington and hope. That's what I would do. That's the final decision. And again, even if Hill plays, Parker Washington can still get a touchdown. He can still get there. That's a good question. Most aggressive yoga pose that you can execute. This is a good. I don't know. I can tell you the pose that I'm most proud of. Right, I can do like the dancer pose for an extended period of time. Like I feel pretty good about that from a balancing standpoint, foot strength, and dexterity. Because it's all about your feet in those situations. To be able to balance, to be able to reach back with one hand and grab your foot and balance on one leg, it feels good. Like it feels good. I mean, I don't know how it looks. I probably look bad, but I feel good about that. I feel aggressively good about my dancer pose. But I don't know. But that's one I think I can still execute even without good flexibility. I'm pretty sure I can still do that. There's other stuff where I probably won't be able to pull it off today. Not going to happen. And by the way, just so everybody knows, like the sort of triangle headstand, right, where you're supporting yourself with your head and your hands, is really easy. Like that's not hard to do. You just have to try it against the wall, and it's so easy. Everyone can do it. Trust me, not hard at all. Like Parker Washington or Josh Palmer. Just roll with Parker Washington. Let's go. Roll with Parker Washington. Someone's saying sit Hunt. I love that. I love sitting Hunt this week. Love it, love it, love it. Bucky Irving or Brian Thomas? Dude, Brian Thomas. That's easy. Come on. I'm going to try to get... I did the thing where I scrolled past a whole bunch of comments and questions. It's for time purposes. I'm way over on time. Adunze or Calvin Ridley? That's a great question. I'm going to pull up the projections just to validate this. Oh, man. Oh, how is it this close? Will Levis is such a risk, and the upside in that matchup, given that it's the Chargers defense, is so low. You got to go with Dunze. Even though, okay, this is a great thing to end on. Because I don't know if we've ever been in this situation where normally it's like, well, if you're, an easy favorite to win, you could just play Ridley because you lock in the target share. The target share for Ridley is much higher than a Dunze this week. Lock it in if you're a favorite. Play Ridley, right? No. This is one of the few situations where, though the median projection on Ridley is necessarily higher than a Dunze, because the game total is also low with Chicago, New England, a Dunze has so much more upside. He's such a better player. And Caleb Williams is a much better quarterback than Will Levis. And New England defense is not comparable to the Los Angeles Chargers defense. You stack up all these reasons, even if I'm a favorite, I still don't know what can happen. Still, anything can happen. I don't see a scenario where Calvin Ridley goes off for 30 fantasy points. But you start Rome Odunze in all situations, no matter how you're feeling about your team. Favorite, underdog, whatever it is, because you may be shockingly behind, and then Odunze comes to the rescue. Because that's a possibility, you have to start Odunze. And I'm out.